Slowthai, Tyron, second album from the man. His first album, Nothing Great About Britain, was a huge success for him. Got a lot of recognition at award shows, the Mercury Awards, for example, and I think there were some others that recognised it as being one of the best hip-hop releases of the year. Generally, publications threw heaps of praise onto it. Music critics generally loved it. Fans loved it. It was just one of those albums for me where I just didn't really think it landed as well as people seem to think it did. There were bangers on there. I still love Doorman. I think that's a great track. I still think the closing track was probably the best track that had the most concise lyrical theme. And generally, I just didn't think the album really tied up the general theme about Britain not being so great. It would have been a fantastic conceptual idea if Slowthai just tidied up his lyrics. I just don't think he's a particularly very strong writer when it comes to stuff like that. His delivery sometimes gets a bit annoying too. That's just a personal thing. I like the sort of ferocious energy that he brings, but it just grates on my ears occasionally. Tyron takes a slightly different approach this time around though. We don't just have, you know, straight up banger after banger from start to finish. We have the first half with the more, I guess, trap inspired bangers. Some of these tracks definitely feel more inspired by something you'd hear from an American rapper than you would a British rapper. Then the second half of the album goes into the more emotionally charged stuff where you get a bit more of an insight into Slowthai's feelings, emotions, all that kind of stuff. It definitely has more of a direction than the last album. The last one just wasn't focused for me, and if you just enjoyed the bangers for what they were, fair enough, but I think the general overarching theme just didn't end up being tied together, whereas this time around I think he's done a better job of doing that. But I'm still left feeling like I'm wanting more, really. I still don't know if Slowthai has delivered with this album here, unfortunately. Surely going to be in the minority once again with Slowthai here. That's fine, but you know, I wanted to give it a chance. Did it land? Not really. So as I said, the first half of this is certainly filled with the amped up, energetic banger, 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 banger. It never slows down, which is quite a good way to take your album, I think, if you're just going to hit with the slapping, heavy, fiery bangers. Then you don't really want to, you know, get anything in the way to slow that down. And he does a good job of doing that. However, the tracks themselves, I don't know if I'm just not in the right mood or head frame anytime I put this album on or something. I don't know, but they just don't hit. Like, they're just not that fiery. They feel like they're meant to be hitting harder than they actually do, and when you read into the lyrics as well, the substance is barely there. The beats I feel like I've heard hundreds of times before, and Slowthai's flows, Slowthai's delivery doesn't do enough to make these tracks stand out. And then there's the hooks, which a lot of the time on these tracks particularly just aren't very good. Dead has got to be the best example of that. The whole kind of muffled, really like deep voice on the chorus just is not memorable at all. Like, I don't know why you'd go for this kind of hook on this kind of track. And if you're gonna do it, make it at least catchy, and it's just not. And Slowthai's verses just don't really have many quotable lines. Often the lines that stand out are pretty weak. Vex and What is very short, but these tracks are so like bass heavy and in your face, and I just feel like I'm supposed to be like, ooh, and I'm just like cold face, stone face, just. And I don't know why. But then you get tracks like Cancelled that are attempting something in a lyrical fashion that just don't work at all. This entire concept is weak as hell. Skepta's chorus just sounds kind of salty, really. Like, how are you going to cancel me? I've got all these awards. I'm a headliner of Glastonbury, all that kind of stuff. And it's just like you're taking the responsibility away from the fact that if you do something that's worth criticizing, then all you're going to do is be like, well, actually, I'm so famous and so rich and I'm so successful that you can't say anything that is gonna bring me down. And I don't like that attitude. I mean, yeah, if people are just gonna hate you for the sake of hating you, just ignore them. Don't pay them no mind. But if you're gonna do something that's worth criticizing, then take responsibility for it. And it's not even just that makes the song so mediocre. It's Slowthai, honestly, because his verse that he comes through with, because this is kind of just a Skepta song with Slowthai featured, really. But like, on your own song, you're going to come through with such weak bars and such a boring flow, and like, I just don't feel like I get a sense of who Slowthai is, really. All I get from Slowthai: I shot caffeine like I'm Costa. She said I do magic like Harry Potter. Like, dude, if you're gonna attempt similes, don't Denzel Curry it up, man. Like, Jesus Christ. Getting flashbacks to that most recent Denzel album where all of his bars were just so piss poor. And people really give those bars a pass for some reason, just because the track slapped or whatever. But if the tracks don't slap that much and then the lyrics stand out like this, then yeah, it makes it even less impressive. He's really just writing something and thinking of the first thing that comes to his head, like, oh, what can this be like? And a lot of his bars end up following that same structure. He mentions Harry Potter again later on the album, and it's just another weak line. I'm seeing people call Mazza like the biggest banger of the album. Fair enough. I think Rocky steals the show, though. I think his delivery is really great. He just sounds like he's commanding the song in a way that Slowthai isn't able to do, which is a bit of a shame, because again, you're letting your feature steal the show, like I think he did with Skepta. And Skepta wasn't even that great on that track, but he definitely steals it over Slowthai. And A$AP Rocky sounding actually pretty good, once again, steals the track. The beat is fine. I don't know if it's that big of a banger that people seem to be saying it is. I don't have many issues with the track, really, but I don't know. I think I've just heard too many songs like this. Like, I've heard A$AP Rocky do songs like this in the past, and they're probably better, really. Play With Fire has the usual braggadocious kind of in your face, I'm not taking no shit type of stuff from Slowthai here. Once again, we've heard him do this before. He kind of sounds corny when he does it, though. I will say that it doesn't really land as hard as I think it's meant to. I mean, look, he'd be able to beat me up. I'm not trying to say that I could take him in a fight or anything, but, you know, it just sounds like those kids at school that are like, oh yeah, mate, you try messing with me, I'm gonna snap you, I'm gonna deck you, I'm gonna shank you. And let me say, I went to school with a lot of kids like that, and let's be honest, man, they were all arseholes. And you know what they probably did? They probably got a girl knocked up at 15, and that's how their life ended up being. So hearing Slowthai like this does not bring back great memories. And that whole bit as well, where he's like, say it to my face, name a time and a place if you're gonna, you know, say something about me, you know, come to me and say it. And then he ends all of that section of like bragging and cockiness with the line, I'm the next best thing since electric. You just undid everything you said by saying such a corny bar. I'm the next best thing since electric? He has a tendency to just say anything. Like, I don't know how much he writes down or how much he thinks about his lines, but it just comes across to me like he doesn't really put that much thought into it. Then you've got the second half, which I've obviously been saying that the bangers don't really hit that hard for me. Look, you could probably think they're just slappers and ignore the lyrics and enjoy them for what they are. That's fine, but I'm here to say I don't enjoy the tracks that much musically. So lyrically, the bars stand out even harder. So is the second half of the album, which is a bit more restrained, a bit more pulled back, a bit more thought-provoking, any better? No. I tried, once again. I just don't know if lyrically it's that all there, really. I guess I can see what he's trying to do, but coming through with like back and forth like a hockey puck and back and forth like the Chuckles. Look, I appreciate a good Chuckle Brothers reference, but he does too many lines like this. Like, he's always saying this is like this, and none of them are ever very good. It's just not very creative, and for a track where you're supposed to be going for a bit more of a heavier topic, you just want those parts to land a bit better, and he doesn't really ever do that. Terms might be my least favourite track, just for that Dominic Fike chorus. I think that chorus is so weak. I didn't really care for Dominic Fike's album. So I'm not that big of a fan of his voice anyway, but I just think he sucks out such a pulse from the track. There could be a great chorus here that's really memorable, but my god, does he just come and suck out the energy. NHS only really feels like a PR move, really. I mean, titling your song NHS, I was listening thinking, whoa, what's he gonna rap about here? What's he gonna say? And like the lyrics are just so weak. There's like one reference to the NHS where he's like, this one's for the NHS. And it's like, why? Why is it for the NHS, Slowthai? What lyrics do you say in this song that have anything to do with the NHS? And what lyrics are even meant to be anything about the NHS? Did you just do this so it might get more views because the NHS is a big talking point at the moment with coronavirus? So you type in NHS on YouTube and this is the first thing that comes up. I think that's what you did. That whole section as well where he's like Rick without Morty, Lil Wayne without codeine and all those other things. It's just really weak. I think the best track here is probably Feel Away. I mean, on the whole album, I would pick this and possibly Mazza as the two tracks from either side that stand out to me the most. But I do think Feel Away is actually the best of the best. I think the production here is actually really nice. There's such a strong melodic energy coming through too, probably from the chorus that Slowthai gives. His singing here is definitely some of the best singing on the whole thing. And then you got James Blake coming through too, and I think he adds a really nice touch to the track. So yeah, I will say this one actually ended up hitting probably the hardest in this section of the album, which I think is what's missing from so many of the other tracks. There's not a great chorus coming in NHS or I Tried or Terms. Like, these choruses ended up pulling away from the tracks, if anything else. And then you've got Feel Away, which has really nice production. It sounds pretty. It just needed more of this. And I just don't know where the rest of the album, you know, contains this. And that's where I can really call it a day with this review. I just don't know if I have much else to add to these tracks. Just not great on a lyrical level, not that impressive production wise. Slowthai's delivery still leaving a lot to be desired for me. Not as impressed with his energy as a lot of people seem to be. I think I'm just the kind of person that will take one or two tracks here and there from him. I like the two tracks he's done with Mira Massa so far. I think his Gorillaz feature was pretty good, and his feature on the Disclosure track too had a lot of energy to it, which it needed for that track. So yeah, there's definitely moments from Slowthai that I think are really good, but when it comes to an album, I just think it ends up falling short and becomes quite shaky. 5 out of 10 from me, unfortunately. Definitely not that big on this one, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Would love to see what you guys think. Definitely think people are going to like this more than me once again. His last album did do well, so I'm not exactly going to be surprised if people in the comments tell me that I'm wrong. You're so wrong. Thank you for watching though. Do hope you have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already. That would be fantastic. I might trim my hair again. Might do that. That might be fun. I did it last time and it looked okay. So why not do it again? Have a good day. Subscribe and goodbye.